This is the Door Knocker podcast, where we dive into the explosive growth of the sales industry. We take an in-depth look with the industry's top talent to uncover what has made them successful as salespeople, leaders, and entrepreneurs. We believe all of life's opportunities are just behind the next door. With that being said, opportunities knocking. I'm your host, Zach Ross. I'm super pumped today. I finally have the man on. We've been going back and forth for a little while. He finally got back into town. I think it was a Guatemala trip. Michael, how are you, man?
I am terrific, and not a hardship to come to Las Vegas, Nevada. Love to be in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we started this thing a while ago during the COVID, and it was like Zoom, and now it's like, I was talking, I was like, let's just wait.
Everything died.
What happened? Yeah, so Leah and I started this thing on Zoom, and then I was like, well, let's just wait till people come into town. And then like SEMA's in town, the World Series of Poker's in town. So it's like, let's just plug when you're in town, just hit me up. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you carving out some time with us, man.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
So yeah, let's hop right into it, man. We were talking a little bit before, which I didn't know. You started doing what? You said I started doing solar in '83, and I looked at you like a confused dog. Tell me about that.
What was solar in 1983?
Yeah.
Solar in 1983 was solar water heaters, and I had a job. I was a setter, and I was in the phone room. You know, back in the day, we used to let our fingers do the walking. Now we walk up to the door and let our legs do the dialing. We hit the Ring doorbell. The guy calls us, is on his phone. Yeah. Like I walked to your door to have a phone call, with you. So that was 1983, setting out of the phone room and Smile and Dial making appointments.
Was that in Arizona?
It was in Stockton, California. So I grew up in Arizona and started my telemarketing career at the age of 8 or something. And then was doing telemarketing, setting appointments for aluminum siding salesmen. And at the time, satellite dish was like something the size of a swimming pool, right? And so we were setting appointments for satellite dish salesmen, and then double pane window salesman, and then finally solar salesman. And that was the job I had in college, was setting appointments for solar salesmen.
Okay, did you really start at 8?
My mom literally had a job when I was 8 years old, setting appointments for people to pick up their thrift store crap to put it out by the curb.
Holy smokes,
she was
man.
the stay-at-home mom, and she had several jobs as a stay-at-home mom, and that was one of them. I'm like, Mom, I think I could do that. Let me do that. So I learned my first experience in telemarketing there. I also learned my first experience in entrepreneurship. She paid me 25 cents for every person that said, yeah, sure, we'll put our crap out by the curb for the disabled American veterans. That would be great. I later found out she was making $2. Every time I got a yes.
Yeah, those are literally my favorite stories ever, man. Because it's like you just think because we're talking about how I think it's 3 megawatts, whatever you sold that year, but we'll talk about that later. But it's like I don't know. I'm not going to show your age, but you've probably been doing this a long, long time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we see guys. We had a guy on here the other day, Brandon Cottrell at Legacy, and he like best month this year was like 40 deals in a month, and he I think he's at like 230 on the year or whatever, and it's like. Sometimes we think like, oh, it's his first year, right?
Yeah,
we forget that
you're just a flash in the pan. You came on the scene and burned the building down. Awesome.
He had knocked for no, I'm not he deserves the credit because he's an incredible salesman. But still, like there's time, and that's what I like about this podcast is it allows us to hear the history of people, so people can know like you got to put the time in to get to where a lot of you guys are at, right?
For sure. It's really about your experience in sales, and you got to put the time into becoming a professional salesperson and somebody who can motivate yourself to show up and produce numbers. The space that you do that in, that can move around. One of my favorite stories, and people ask me what I do, is a story about Tiger Woods winning the U.S. Amateur Open, right? And he's still in college or whatever. He's not a pro yet. And he just happens to win the amateur portion. And there's a guy next to him, kind of a heavy set dude. And he's the local amateur. And he's alongside him and he's paired with them. And somebody sticks a microphone in his face and says, hey, man, what do you do? And he just happens to be on TV because he's next to Tiger. What do you do? He goes, I'm in sales. And the guy goes, really? What do you sell? He goes, whatever's moving. So, you got to if you're going to be successful in sales, you can try and sell something that nobody wants, and you got to be a damn good salesman, but that's going to be tough. If you really want to be good in sales, find something that is really on fire and act like it's mostly you. That's been pretty successful.
I love that. That's so money. Yeah, Lee and I talk about that kind of thing all the time. It's like if solar goes away tomorrow, we could just go sell anything, really, right? I mean, like
if you know how to pitch and get appointments and close.
And that's why door-to-door is such an equal opportunity.
This is what we talk to our teams about. You know, when you learn how to sell, you're empowered. It's very empowering because you learn a skill, you learn a language in sales. Sales is a language, it's learnable. And once you refine and define that, you have the ultimate power to go out anywhere in the United States, in my opinion, and sell any product that's a worthwhile product that has a good margin. All you need is the product knowledge, and you have the skill. And that's, as a human, that's very empowering to know that you are the one that goes out and creates the revenue. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I remember getting fired one time from a job. They just laid off the whole thing, right? And they marched us into HR and said, okay, we're going to give you this package, some cash, and your HR benefits, your health benefits are good for a while. And then we're going to hire this outplacement firm that's going to, I go, dude, I already got a job.
Go sell some stuff.
What? I appreciate all the stuff, but dude, when I saw the pink slip thing, I have a job. I'm going to that next job this afternoon. Yeah. So as soon as in the early '80s, my wife used to freak out that some weeks I would bring home $1,700 and some weeks I would bring home $170, but she gained the confidence that over any period of time there was going to be enough money there, and that no matter what happened to the outside world, nobody could mess with my ability to bring home the bacon, on the inside world, no matter what. Like she always tells people, if I have confidence that if everything went to hell in a handbasket, that he'd get out on a street corner and sell apples and make enough to, keep us in peanut butter and jelly.
We were talking, I took my girlfriend and her new store manager out last night. We had literally the same exact conversation. It's like literally which is cool. It's a good feeling, right? And it's a good feeling to feel empowered. So around 1983, what was it? You were a setter, which is cool because that's probably not what they called you back then, right?
No, we were literally smile and dial. We were making appointments and we were paid for sits. I think we invented the word sit. So that's what we got paid for. That was my job.
Where was it at in Stockton? Most of my family lives there.
No
actually.
way. Yeah, area code 209.
Yeah, my aunt used to own a massive house in Murata. My cousin has this. There's one beautiful gated community off of March Lane by the In and Out, and that's where he lives, right?
Is that on the Delta? Do they have boats that you can boat your way to San Francisco?
Yeah, he just
from
bought
Stockton
a Bentley
somehow.
or something crazy. Yeah. I'm like, bro, why don't you leave? Stockton's not nice.
You know what? I went to University of Pacific, which was this rich kid school. Yeah, wow. and I was not the rich kid. I was the kid that needed a job after school.
Wow.
And that's what I was doing, was selling. So it was a total prep school kid thing, and everyone was rich. I happened to get a scholarship. I was a computer thing. I'm thinking this computer thing, it was 1984. I'm thinking this computer thing could be big. Maybe.
Maybe.
And I did. I spent 25 years in the computer industry when I got out of college. Yeah. But while I was in college, I sold solar. And for the first, year or so, I was in the phone room, and then I kind of made it to the the assistant manager in the phone room.
Yeah.
One day I walked into the conference room, and there's this, guy that looks like he's been selling aluminum siding for 30 years because he had.
Right.
And he was one of the owners of the company, and he was the vice president of sales. Wait, that sounds like me. So he's in there and he's teaching new guys that are recruits how to sell solar. And the PowerPoint presentation back in that day was you had an 8x11 3-ring binder with plastic sheets that you put pieces of paper into the plastic.
The old Brian Tracy.
Yes. And so he was just showing people how you walk. And the beginning of the presentation is the same as it is today. You just scare the holy living hell out of people about what the price of energy is going to be, 10 years from now. Yeah. And although then we had just come out of this energy crisis, so it was super believable, but it was about 30 years ahead of its time, right? I don't know if you saw the news yesterday, but the infrastructure bill passed. How they're going to pay for that infrastructure bill is they're going to charge electricity. They're going to put carbon tax on electricity. Yeah. So they're going to do a 2-part plan here. One, they're going to de-incentivize coal and whatever else we dig out of the ground and light on fire to make electricity in kilowatt hours. They're going to tax the holy living hell out of that. And they're going to then use that money to pay for all the other stuff that they want. Some of which is going to be extending, hopefully, the tax credits back to 30% and extending that for 5 years, maybe make it refundable. So write your senator, tell them, vote for all that stuff.
That's actually coming up in the next one on the 15th.
Yeah. So so that's the agenda of the current administration of the United States, right? We've got a moonshot. The moonshot is to have our emissions by the end of the decade. Dude, that's 8 years from now. Cut our emissions in half by the end of the decade. And they've got a really solid plan. All they got to do is double or triple the price of electricity, and we're there.
I literally can't. I'm going to just cut that apart, and I'm going to send it to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm going to send it to everyone I'm trying to recruit.
Yeah.
And basically just go, hey, here you go. Here's why you should come work here.
Yeah.
Because if you're selling, we just talked about this yesterday. If you're selling anything else right now, you're an idiot.
Well, let me tell you the value of a deadline. In July of 1961, President Kennedy said, "We will put a man on the moon by the end of the decade." That's a deadline. And everyone said, "You got to be, that dude's crazy. Is he high?
Right.
We don't know how to get to the moon. It would bankrupt the country trying.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right.
not a thing. We're not going to like actual people on the moon. Like that's like cartoons and science fiction. That's not happening." July of 1969, we had a man on the moon. That was Neil Armstrong stepping, off the thing, one small step. And so right now, by the end of this decade, that's our moonshot. We've got to cut our emissions in half. And these guys have a plan. Like, you should have confidence that they're going to figure out how to cut our emissions in half. They're just going to tweak the dial on carbon emission taxes, and that's what the whole Paris Climate Accord is about. They're going to make gasoline more expensive. That's what getting out of the Keystone Pipeline was all about. And then they're going to pay for all this stuff that they want to do by taxing gas and coal and gasoline. And
I think you're starting to see the tipping point too. What's happening is you have these third parties that are producing the electricity, and then a Berkshire Hathaway Energy's purchasing it. And what Buffett's doing right now is spending $2 billion out in the desert, $2.5 billion in the desert to build a solar farm.
That's right.
And we had Tyler Williams on the podcast a while back. One of the things that he really caught me is, when you're talking to a homeowner, listen, you're going to buy solar, whether you're buying it from a field or whether you're buying it from a roof, because they're taking that third party power production and they're monetizing it into a central place that they own. So they own the production plant. So they're just doing what our homeowners are doing.
That's right.
They're building that solar out in the field. And then you look at exactly what you're talking about. And when we keep it simple, that just means, hey, there's somebody's going to pay for that solar field, and it's going to be the homeowner in the marketplace of right? So you're on the spot.
Well, you're going to pay for solar. You may not get it, but you're paying for it right now,
You
right?
may not
And you don't
get
have to be the smartest guy in the world, but just take a look at what the smartest guy in the world is doing and just do that. So if Warren Buffett is buying
like
solar
that.
panels, then you should
buy them too.
You should buy solar
Cool.
panels.
So, do you need a job? No, it's funny because I love, that's what I love about this podcast. I take so many nuggets away, as I know people that listen do too, because I can just take it into the home and I'm like, hey, look, this is what's going on, dude. Like, you're either going to do it or you don't. And with that kind of attitude, they always want to do it. They're like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, why would I not want to do it?
Yeah.
So back then in '83, like what were you doing? You were in college, so you're probably partying and hanging out and having a good time.
Totally partying, totally hanging out.
So what was it? What was sales like for you then? Did you kind of just like have a knack for it? Like, was it like in your blood? Like, what was it like?
Yeah, well, I had a knack for being really crappy at almost anything else. I tried making pizzas, and I burnt like every other pizza. They were like, this isn't for everybody. Making pizzas, it's not. Not everybody's cut out for it. Plus, I found out, I didn't even know, like I worked for a pizza place for a month, and I found out they pay you like $2.65 an hour. The minimum wage was like $3.10 or something. Like, how am I not getting minimum wage? Like, oh, you're supposed to get tips. I'm like, dude, somebody left me a quarter once when I was wiping up the table. I'm not getting compensated. So I worked for a month, and I said, you know what? And I started looking for another job, and I said, I see these, make money sitting on the phone in the phone room, And I'm like, hey, sell tickets to the policeman's ball. They called it a badge deal. Guys were hardcore telemarketer guys. Would tell you, oh, that was a badge deal. So I signed up for a badge deal, and now I'm making $5 an hour sitting on my ass talking to girls for 2 of the 4 hours because I could knock the quota out in at least 2. And then I'm making commission on the $100, $200 a night worth of tickets to the policeman's ball that I'm sending. I'm like, dude, I really like getting paid and sitting on my ass at the same time and not making and burning pizzas. So that's how I discovered that there was money. But how I really figured out about sales, I'm in the phone room at this solar office. I walk into that office and they're doing that 8x11, training people how to sell solar with the 3-ring binder. And he was just scaring the hell out of people about how much energy was going to cost. And then boom, here's the solution, solar. And I was thinking to myself, how could getting rid of an $11 a month solar water heating bill be the solution to the future? But there were 50% tax credits from the Fed, 25% from the state of California. So it was 75% free.
Follow the tax credit.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, like, and I found out, it's just really easy to sell stuff when someone else is paying for 3/4 of it. It's just.
Well, I was with a buddy last night eating dinner. He's in town. I took him out to eat, and like we're just talking, and he's like wants to get into mold mitigation and windows and all that stuff in Florida. And I was like, he just kept going and going and going, and he's very, very highly successful individual. Doesn't need any of my advice. But we were just standing there, and I was like, I just like kind of looked at him. I was like, what about solar?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, tell me about it. And I told him about it, and he's like, that sounds like a better idea. Because he was like, well, I was like, I'm like, no, just stop everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Because he wants to buy out a company. I'm like, just find some shitty company in Florida that holds a license and just do solar. It's just time to do solar.
Perfect idea.
That's it. Just go do solar.
It's the right place. You'll be the right guy at the right place at the right time. I agree, and I see all these companies. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or offend anybody, but when I see a solar company that's selling duct cleaning and this and that and trying to blah blah blah, it's like I know nothing against that stuff unless you're not being honest with people. If you tell someone all this voodoo is going to knock their bill down by 30%, so they need 30% less solar, and you mark up that other stuff, I call that reduce before you produce. But I know a lot of guys that actually, they're actually have a good heart about it, and they're selling extra. I was like, dude, nothing sells as well and pays as well as solar. If you got an hour and a half with a customer, like, dude, I can't say 1/5 of the stuff I want to say about solar in the time that I have. And then nothing pays as well. There's nothing that has, as good of margins and stuff. So
I think that comes from good leadership too,
solar.
right? I mean, right? Because I came into the industry and I was like, I remember I'd go to Lee, I'd be like, bro, I could sell a whole home package and alarms. And I remember we were out knocking one day together, and I was like talking about the alarm. Lee comes from the alarm world.
Yeah.
And he was like, why the would you even? I'm like, well, it would be cool. He goes, that's stupid. Yeah. He's like, do you know how much money you're making on a solar deal?
Yeah.
You're literally giving that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I'd rather just go let's get this done and
He's
go sell
let's
two more
just sell
solar
dude.
Today. Yeah.
It's the 80-20 rule, right? Look at what 20% of what you're selling is producing 80% of your margin. So just scratch the other. So this was given to me a few years ago, but it was a Toys R Us Walmart example.
Yep.
So Toys R Us is gone, and Walmart is not gone.
Yep.
What Walmart did was they discovered what Toys R Us was selling, the top 20%, the top 20% of their toys, and that's what's in the Walmart toy section, just the top selling 20%. Focus on, I agree with you 100%. I see these guys and they're, listen, duct cleaning and sealing, and it's all great, and light bulbs and all this stuff. Just sell solar based on an economic standpoint that brings a ROI to your customer. Sell it straight through. It's the highest margin. It's the best for the customer. It's what they need. Be honest. Have good accounting, have good production, and then just go in.
Yeah, I do the opposite. I don't tell them to reduce their uses. I said, go crazy, man. You just need a lot more solar. There's no reason to why get you 100% when what you need is 140%.
I love
and then just go crazy, man. Just live La Vida Loca.
Thermostat
be comfortable.
to 40.
Turn that thing
just
down.
Freeze yourself to death.
Well, my mom, dude, I sold my mom's solar. It only took 9 months, but she's the hardest sale I've ever done. But I sold my mom's solar, and she had it for like a day. I mean, I don't even know if we turned it on yet. I think I don't even think it got to PTO. We just installed it. And she calls me. She's like, the weirdest thing's happening. I was like, what's up? She's like, my AC's colder. I'm like, oh yeah, Mom, that's true.
Well,
I didn't even want to burst her
probably,
bubble.
by the way.
Yeah.
No, seriously. So I don't know if you ever looked under a solar panel. You ever look under a solar panel?
I get,
yeah. There's
right,
shade under a
right.
solar panel.
Yeah, no, true, good
so
point.
So the AC
The
will
radiant.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to put the whole, southern side of a house in this shade. That AC will be colder.
I didn't burst her bubble. I just agreed. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah,
I'm with her.
Yeah, I'm
her
with
AC's
her too.
colder.
I'm like, tell all your friends.
I went solar and my AC's colder.
Yeah. So
it's colder when you set it to 74 instead of 79.
Stop living like a refugee. Turn that thing down. Turn it down.
You're in Vegas. You probably see the same thing. I have people telling me I'm in their house and it's 79 degrees. And they go, we like it at 79. And I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm here and I'm not comfortable. Can we turn that thing down?
I will literally tell people to turn the AC down when I go in their house.
Please,
I'm like, can you please, just for me? I'm only here for 30 minutes. Like, just this is miserable.
And hopefully they don't have a demand rate and you cost them $60.
Yeah, I'll just leave a check. So when you started selling computers, were they still the size of rooms back then? I mean, like, what was it like selling computers?
One of my customers was Pan Am, and I used to call on them and come into Manhattan and go visit them in the Pan Am building. And at that point in time, about 500, a half of a meg of memory would sit inside of a device that looked like a refrigerator. It looked like a refrigerator. And Pan Am would have entire floors like 3 floors full of these disk asset storage devices, DASD. And each one of them held a half a meg. So those 3 floors of the Pan Am building held less memory than my cell phone. So when we try to get our mind wrapped around the advancement,
can you imagine the heat production coming out of those servers?
They were on raised floors. They were on raised floors with chilled water underneath. So the infrastructure needed to and I sold IBM computers, which required each box, and one computer might be 10 of these boxes. Each box was the size of a refrigerator, and it sat on a raised floor with all the electrical and literally chilled water to keep them cool enough.
That's badass. Right? A little piece of history.
And but in my mind, that's what real sales was. Like if you wanted to be a respectable dude, I just envisioned. I had this idea in my head. I was going to wear a blue suit, have a blue tie, and sell blue. IBM was blue, right? Sell blue computers. And I did that, and I did pretty well at it. I made a name for myself in that industry as well. But that idea was something that was broken in my mind. So I walk into that conference room as a setter, and I sit down in the back, and I see them show people how to sell solar. I'm like, dude, I can do that. And then he says, now, about 80-90% of people are going to look at it. When they look at the end of it, they're going to say, this is awesome. We want to do it. We'd like to sign up on a day that's not today. Is there a possibility you could come back on a different day so we could sign up and do paperwork on a date that doesn't match the date on the calendar today? And that's no problem. Just remain calm. When they say they want to buy it, but they need a few days to think about it, here's what you do. And he just walked me through the aluminum siding, the 10-man close 1, 10-man close 2, 10-man close 3. And you just keep going through these closes till they sign up. And it'll work every time. I said, okay, well, that's what happened. So I literally left that conference room, went into the phone room and grabbed an appointment off the wall, drove out to it, grabbed one of those 3-rings binders, showed up at the appointment, walked people through the thing, and they're like, this is awesome. We want to do it. Hey, we'd like to think about it for a couple days. We'd like to do it on a different day if that's okay with you. Oh, wait, hold on. No problem. We got a deal for that. Walk them through 10-man close A, and they just signed up and bought it. I'm like, awesome. Get out of that room and call my boss. I'm like, she says, where are you? I'm like, I ran an appointment. I went through the training this afternoon. Okay. She says, well, I got another one right around the corner. You want that one? It's like 7 o'clock. Yeah, I'll do that one. Sends me out there, same thing, walk them through the presentation, scare the hell out of them, show them the solution, free money, tax credits. They're like, this is awesome. We want to buy it. Can you come back tomorrow? Oh, sure, no problem. But hold on, one more thing. You walk them through the 10-man close B, and they, okay, sign up. We're doing paperwork. I get out. I sold another one. And she says, hey, I got another one at 9 o'clock. You want that? I go, yeah. So they give me that one. I do the same thing. I sell it. I come out. I call her. And she's like, well done. Hey, that dude that you were in the conference room with, he wants you to call him. He's the vice president of sales. So I'm on a payphone, like literally payphone. You remember payphones?
I do.
I'm on a payphone. I'm running out of quarters. I call the dude. He's at home. It's like 11 o'clock at night. And he's like, dude, who are you? Who are you again? Where did you come from? I'm like, I'm that guy that looks like he's 15 sitting in the back of the conference room this afternoon. I just sat in. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. I go, what do you do? I go work in the phone room. He go like, yeah, you don't work in the phone room anymore. You're in the sales department. So that was the beginning of me being a closer instead of a setter.
So what do you think, like, and I love stories like that because I think as reps and all of us as we grow in this industry, we have that aha moment, right? We have that moment where like, I just did 3 in a day, or I just did 2 in a day, or whatever, or I just closed it on my own. Holy shit. And it really, I mean, listen, I'm not saying sales is easy, but if your tactics are sound, right? They can't, it's purely that.
Yep.
So what was that like? Just that day, like what was that feeling like?
Dude, it was the funnest thing I'd ever done, man. I was like, I was manic, man. I was like high as a kite. I'm like, do you have any midnight appointments? Do you got one more? Who else will see me right now, man? I'm on a roll. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I go, man, how much money did I make? He goes, $500. I go, I made $500 today. I made $150 a week in the phone room. Something like that. I go,
$500 for 3 deals.
$500. I go, I made $500. You go, no. You made $500 each.
Oh shit!
Like, wait, I made $1,500 today
in 1980. What?
Yeah, that's like a third of my tuition.
That's pretty good.
Something like that a day.
Yeah.
This is a lesson in for you in early closing, right? Because one of the hardest things we have to teach, closers in closing, is to get comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And what most people don't do, they'll leave a deal without asking for the signature, and the customer will sell the rep, and they'll leave. And sometimes you have to hear no 6 or 7 times, and you have to understand that there's a buying resistance with that customer, and you have to practice closes that you're going to take them through, and you have to isolate, you have to overcome, go back in the sales cycle. And that's one of the hardest things to teach people. And generally people learn that by getting kicked in the teeth enough, and they go back. Sounds like you just figured it out from a training class.
I walked into a class and these guys knew how to do it. Anybody seen the movie Tin Men? I mean, these guys have been selling aluminum siding for 30 years. It's better than Glengarry Glen Ross with Alec Baldwin, coffees for closing. Check out the movie Tin Men. Danny DeVito, Richard Dreyfuss. These guys, these are the guys that are setting up a photo shoot in somebody's front yard, and the neighbor's like, well, what are you doing? We're with Life magazine. These guys are getting aluminum siding, and they're the before house. Do you mind? We're going to take shots of your house. You're the before shot. They're going to be the after shot.
Marketing, man. Get yourself out there.
Total scam.
Market.
And next thing you know, they got an appointment to come back.
I had to put it in my phone just because if it's better than Glengarry Glen Ross, I'm going to have to report
I'll tell you
back.
what, so that's the Glengarry, my favorite part of Glengarry Glen Ross is the part that nobody understands. I'll let you in on like this little secret. So back in the day when we made appointments, I'd always show up and I'd have under my arm a set of steak knives. Because if the woman said, yes, you can come back and pitch me and the mister tonight after he gets home from work, and that was back in the day when she was probably home, he was probably at work, make the appointment for when he's going to be home, need you both here. And by the way, just for having us over, you're going to get a free set of steak knives. And she's like, ooh, I really want those steak knives. Right? So in Glengarry Glen Ross, if you remember, first prize, brand new Cadillac. Second prize, set of steak knives. And the audience, I'm thinking.
Wait, we got to do third prize. You're fucking fired.
Third prize, hit the bricks, pal. You're fired. So, and they're like, wow, that's pretty harsh, right? But the funny part is, and here's the thing, the audience doesn't know this, but I know this because I've sat in that room with those dudes, exact dudes, right?
Yeah.
That was probably an early 80s thing. They had the same steak knives. So every one of those guys, when he says second prize set of steak knives, every one of them has 30 sets of steak knives in the trunk of their car.
Wow.
And that's the joke. And the funny part is the audience doesn't get that. So anyway, that's the thing. But Lee, you hit the nail on the head. We almost don't need to send anybody to a house to sell them solar. We could send them a YouTube video. If they watch the thing, they'd be like, dude, I just have to go solar. The reason we need us there is because they're going to want to do it on a different day. They're going to think, this is awesome. I want to do it. I want to sign up on Friday, tomorrow morning. Can you come tomorrow morning? Please come tomorrow morning. I want solar, but I don't want it today. So knowing how to go from there to, 35 minutes later, walking out the house, with a $57,000 contract signed in ink, press firm, write 3 copies, used to actually have the carbon copy thing. So that's what
buying resistance.
That's what, and I didn't know any better. They just showed me how to do it. I'm like, okay, when they say they want to think about it, you just go into the second gear. Here's the second gear, and then if that don't work, you try a third gear.
Yeah, but that's the
gear.
ticket, right? Like that's literally all that. It's almost like ignorance is bliss when you get into closing, especially because you're like, you just don't know any better.
No.
You're like, well, they told me if they say this, and I have to do this. And
it didn't seem the least bit awkward to me.
Yeah, it's not, because that's if you can overcome.
I'm like, oh, here's the part where they say they want to do it later, and I've had guys that work.
Hold on, give me a second.
Oh, I got a page for that. Hold on, let me read that page, and they do it every time. Every time. Yeah. So I learned how to do that, and that's what I do with my MOD Sales Academy. Is I take people through the whole thing. How do you get the appointment? First of all, how do you get yourself to the door, right? Hardest door to open is the car door. The hardest door to open is your front door. Let's face it. How many solar guys? Where are we doing this? It's Saturday morning. It is now 10:40. What percentage of solar people do you think are in their pajamas on the prime time best hour? Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I didn't ask that. I said, what percentage of solar people? I would put the over-under at 80%, man. I bet 80% of solar people are in their pajamas at prime time Saturday morning. 10. Where am I? I'm not on a door. Why? Because this seems more important to me. I'm probably wrong about that, right? But my mind is telling me there's all these other things that are more important than being on a door. So getting yourself to the door is the hard part. But then what do you say at the door to get the appointment? And then when you're there, what is this mentality to get you over your resistance? It's not their resistance. It's your resistance that's the problem. And it's the resistance to making it awkward. Because when they tell you and give you some great reason, this is the Grant Cardone sell or be sold. Now it's their turn to sell. They're going to sell you, we're going to establish this rapport. We're going to maintain this beautiful relationship we have, but we're not buying today. We're going to buy on a different day. And the person who wants to buy that is you. It's the salesperson going, yeah. This is the one that's really going to have me back over on Friday. This is the 1 out of 10 that's not going to cancel the appointment between now and Friday to come back and do docs and sign and this and that and whatever thing. But to cross that transom is normally awkward. For me, I'm not going to tell you I never feel awkward, but I never think that I'm not supposed to do it. There's times where I actually get sold and I go, no, this is the real excuse. It's his accountant, whatever. And so I'll hold back and not do the close. I'll be walking out the door. I'll be like, what, dude, why did you leave the bullet in the gun, man? So empty the frickin' clip every single time. And who gives a care? So, the chapter in MOD Sales Academy about closing is titled, I'm Not Coming Back. And dude, I mean it. I'm not coming back. And so I'm about to lay a story on you that's absolutely true. It's absolutely real. And the theme of the story is, I'm not coming back. This isn't the meeting about the meeting. This is the damn meeting. There's not going to be another damn meeting.
Yes, sir.
And people go, if he calls you back tomorrow morning and says, come on, I'll take that offer and get over here and do paperwork, will you come back? And I go, yeah, I will. Of course. 100%. I'm coming. Okay, I'm on my way. I'll cancel it. I'm on my way. So I'm on my So you would come back. I said, I didn't say I wouldn't come back. I said I'm not coming back. Why am I not coming back?
Because we're doing this today.
Because there's not going to be another meeting. I don't know. Maybe there's the sales guys out there that they close 1 out of 5, and so they end up coming back because they get the really interested people. Like, no, we told you we were interested. We want solar, but it ends up happening 2 or 3 touches later. I don't have those because by the time I'm done in the appointment, like if we're not doing documents, we're not really exactly friends anymore. You know what I mean? It's that walk to the door after I've gone through close B, C, D, and E. You want to talk about awkward? Then it's kind of awkward. I don't even want to call them back. They don't want me to call them back. It's like, yeah, we're just not a good fit for each other. The people who buy today, they're a good fit for me. The guys who want to buy on a different day, it turns out we're just not a very good fit.
Yeah, that's something I had to learn that hard way, right? It's like I just want to be friends with everybody when I'm in the house. And then I was watching video after video, correlation after correlation, Conley did it over and over. And it's like, because I fell victim to that in my, this is my first year knocking doors. I'm 31. And I just fell victim to that. Like, hey, yeah, dude, it's all good. They're going to call me tomorrow. They said, come back Thursday. It's 2 weeks from now. Yep. Dude, it's only 2 weeks. And then what am I doing the whole time? I'm just constantly thinking over and over and over and over and over about how they're, and it's
is so much more freeing when the next day you can't remember their name. And you're committed to not calling them.
I don't know who said it. I don't know who said it. It was somebody in the industry. And they said they're not your friend until you sign docs. Mm-hmm. The minute they sign docs, they can be your best friend. Trade, who cares? Like, yep, you're my friend. You know what I mean?
Well, and I'm not there to be your friend. I'm there to serve, right? And number one, I'm there to serve you. You asked me to your kitchen table, which is where you make decisions. And let's be honest with each other. We're here to make a decision. And so I lay it out real clear. If I do it at the very beginning, kind of like ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at the end of this thing, I'm going to present this evidence and we're going to make a decision. We're going to arrive at a fork in the road. And we're either going to go this way and we're going to start the paperwork and we're going to get the process started. And, solar's not going to be on the roof tomorrow, but we're going to get the process started. We're going to make this a productive meeting. And we need to, because there's not going to be another meeting. So this is the reason for the meeting. Or at the end of this process, I'm going to turn you over to my sales department. You want follow-up? I got some sons of bitches who are good at following up. You're going to be impressed with these bastards. Let me tell you what. You want to write a little book on how to follow up and have somebody buy solar from you someday? You're going to love these guys. And somehow it's going to multiply. And next thing you know, there's 10 companies calling you. Somehow the word gets out and, they're waiting for you in your driveway when you're going to love this follow-up process. Let me tell you. So we're going to come to this fork in the road and you're going to become a job on my company's production board, and we're going to get to work and people will be working for you and getting things done. We're going to be productive, making things happen, or we're going to go off to the right. You're going to become a lead, L-E-A-D.
I think too, though, what happens is when you perceive, I don't think I know, that was a good one.
Inside joke here on the pre-podcast conversation. You got to get a lead, L-E-A-D.
Who does that sound like? The thing is, when you go into an appointment or a meeting with that perception of the meeting, you go hard in the paint. a seasoned professional, a veteran closer realizes that when he leaves that house, he got sold, and maybe 1 in 10 of those people is going to call him back. I dust those things. I agree. You put him in the go back in the setter pool. But I'm going to go hard in the paint, because if I leave, there's no deal. And I'm going to go through every aspect of my closes that I can to get you to sign. I'll ask 7, 8, 9, 10 times until it comes to the point where you don't like me and you kick me out of the house, or you sign this paperwork.
Literally.
Because it's simple buying resistance. And when people have a buying resistance, we can go into all kinds of advanced closing stuff, which we don't need to go on here. You've done the job. Something's been missed somewhere. And as salespeople, we realize that as closers, we go in and we try and identify those things. And there are times when the customer is not willing to reveal that objection or that condition for a variation of reasons. But when if I leave, there's no deal, you go hard in the paint in the deal.
That's right. Yeah, and that's when you get the opportunity to serve the customer. If you can help them overcome whatever that objection is, and you got to have the skills to get that objection out. And I've got plenty of tactics that I use to actually get them to tell me the real objection. I call it, one of them's the Columbo close. I'm like, I give up. You win. I'm going to start putting my stuff away. All right, you and Mary, you guys are going to talk about this tomorrow. My proposal's good for 30 days. Just do me a favor. Just each of you tell me, what's the primary thing you're going to, the minute I walk out this door, what are you going to actually say? What's the real reason we're not doing this tonight? Mary, what do you got to say? And then have her say, well, I don't think we're going to, I hate this house. I don't want to be living in this house for another 20 years. And he don't know she wants to move.
It's like a pre-door knock.
It's revealing the objection.
Yeah,
right?
getting the objection out onto the table. And you, Bill, what about you? At the minute I'm out this door, what's going to be the real thing that you tell Mary on why we're not moving forward today? So
reveal,
try and get the real objection.
Overcome.
Sometimes they're not sold. Not everybody's going to buy. Sometimes it's just they want to win. You run into that guy who's just better and smarter and more sophisticated than you, and there's just no way he's going to do it your way. I identify those guys. I try and get to identify those guys early and just realize, from an ego standpoint, there's not going to be room for both of us in this room. That one's going to be a no.
Zach's had a few of those.
You're going to do better with a low ego sales guy, and I'll have him follow up with you till that pisses you off.
God, dude. Sometimes I sit back and think about it. I mean, sometimes it almost happens to this day, And I'm still in my first year, so I got a long way to go compared to you guys. But I feel like I do a pretty decent job, and I go hard in the paint. And Lee refers to as locking my feet in. I go to the point where you're like, dude, can you get out of my house, please? And I'm like, cool, man, no problem. See you later. I did my job.
I did not leave it on the table there.
Because I literally feel, and I think that's what it was that I had to get described to me, and then I had to feel it was like, I feel so much better driving home when I've done everything because like you said, when I'm coming at you at a level of servitude, when I'm coming at you to serve your family, I'm doing everything I can to have you understand that you're either doing this now or in 3 years. So
I mean, let's face it, we're not going to remember. I literally won't remember your name tomorrow. So if I'm in 2 or 3 appointments I'm not kidding. Like if you bought, I'm probably have trouble remembering your name, right? I mean, I'm selling 10, 12 of these a week, whatever. So I'm in 2 or 3 appointments every single day.
Yeah.
And if 2 of them buy and 1 of them don't, I don't care which one don't. Like literally, I don't care. It's not going to affect me for 1 minute, but the family that I'm sitting with, if I can't use my skills and my talents and my training to help them get over the hump and get the solar process moving, there's a really good chance they're not going to have solar before the next decrease in the tag. They're just, they're not going to make it.
I really love
that. And if I can help them get them up and over and get who's happy, by the way, when they finally go, I said, does it seem like a reasonable plan? And they go, yeah, you know what, that does sound like a reasonable plan. When I get them up and over that thing, and then we're starting to do paperwork, you know who the unhappy guy in the room is and who the happy people are? The people going solar are happy. They're excited. They're excited that they've made a decision. They're moving forward. They're going green. They're going solar. And I'm like, I got to do another set of these goddamn documents one more freaking time. What's your solar?
I feel that.
Yeah. Like I'm like, part of me, there's almost this little tiny part of me that said, if I let it go and let it alone, I get to skip out of here without
get home early
doing one more credit app.
Well, Taylor McCarthy said it. He said, the biggest disservice I can do to a customer who needs my product is not sell them.
Oh yeah.
Is not convince them that they need the product. When I know you need the product and I have a good product that's going to save you money over time, the biggest disservice I can do to you is let you sell me and me get out of this room without getting a signature.
Well, and it is a service because when they start selling you about why they need more time, it's awkward. to then be the guy that said, you know what, I want to talk about one more thing, right? And go back into the paint and go back into the paint. I love that analogy, by the way, going into the paint. Everybody's all around it, but it's like, I'm going in, man. This is, I'm going straight to the hoop right now. And there's and I've got guys that work for me for years, and they have yet to pull out, you know, a today only close because they are afraid that it's going to be awkward. They know it is going to be awkward, and they're not willing to charge into the paint, take the penalty, shove that ball down into the rim. And I just know it. They want to preserve the rapport.
Wow. And
they want to maintain the relationship because they're sold that there's going to be another meeting on another day. And those guys are kind of farmers. You know, at any one time, they got like 30, 40 deals in their little garden box, and they're nurturing them and carrying them. And
that's a good analogy.
Clipping out articles in the paper and doing whatever. And every once in a while, they pop one out of the thing. I just don't have time for that because I'm not a farmer, man. I got like ADD to the max. Like, I'm not kidding.
Well,
I won't
somebody
know your
needs
name.
to strike them out because I sold roofing, you know, and in the South, and I think it depends on your customer because in the South, if they go, okay, Zach, you're going to come back tomorrow at 12, we're going to sign docs, they literally mean that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it just doesn't happen.
It just, no, in the South it happens.
Oh, okay.
It did. In Charleston it did. I swear to God.
Oh, for the roof.
Yeah.
That's because they need a roof.
Yeah.
They don't need solar.
10-4.
Yeah, so if when the iron's hot,
Valid
if you're
point.
thinking,
Valid point.
yeah, they got to have a roof.
Valid
They
point.
got to talk to 3-4 guys and call one of them back.
Valid point.
They're
Valid
not calling
point.
a solar guy back. It's just not.
No,
it's just not happening. So when the
that.
iron is hot,
That's a good
if
point.
they can't pull the trigger when the iron, I mean, when you're got all these facts and figures and all this stuff, and they're just like, they like literally look at it and they go, oh my God, how come everyone on this street doesn't have solar already? And you go, oh, I got them. Oh, I got them. And they're like, yeah, but you know, I got to talk to my accountant and blah, 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 blah. They want to do it on a,
They gotta pray.
on a different. If you can't close, if you can't get them to pull the trigger when the iron is that white hot, why do you think you're going to be able to pull the trigger after the iron has gotten cold and hard? You're not.
That's a good analogy.
And what they're doing is inviting you into this nightmarish thing where you're calling them and they're taking your call, but they didn't get a chance to talk to the guy, and my wife and I haven't, blah, blah, blah. And then you're calling them and they're texting you back, sorry, dude, in a meeting. Sorry, bro, can you call another time? And now you're calling them and they're just ignoring your call. You want to talk about awkward? That's freaking awkward. All right. I have this awesome relationship, and now I feel like this, you know, pest. Now I've entered into the, you know.
Well, this is one of the things.
We're not even friends anymore.
Right with Brian Tracy, where he's got the glass, and he's in the glass. This is what you hear from closers, you know, that are good at their jobs across the world, right? Is he I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it, and he decides at one point to say, you know what? No, it's do or die. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, he becomes the top closer in his company. Yep. But this is it. There's this thing that we have, normally I suffer from it, is when I'm in the deal and they say something, my brain wants to shut down and quit. And I have to go through my processes to not do that, to lock my feet in. I have to be intentional about getting comfortable in uncomfortable situations. I have to identify, isolate, and overcome the objection and push my way through that. But intrinsically, like naturally, we just want to go, oh, okay, yeah, you think about it. And as a closer, we have to do the opposite of that. And we got to go hard in the paint. We got to go in.
Yep. Yeah. And for me, what makes me confident to do that, and what gives me the courage to do it, and why I have conviction that it has to be done right now, is because I understand I'm serving that family. I believe it. I know it to be the case. The regrets I have in solar are the ones where I pulled the punch, didn't come in at the end and let them off the hook. And, you know, I drive by their house 3 years later, they don't have solar. They missed net metering. They missed the 30%. They missed the, you know, they've just missed every successive deal. And it's because I didn't have, and I just think, you know, maybe I know for sure another closer could have been in there and could have gotten the job done. That motivates me. When I'm there, I'm having to make the decision of going at it one more time. And I think, you know what, if they had a better closer here, they'd end up with solar and they would be better off. They'd be better served.
With that car ride home with yourself when you didn't ask for the close and you know you didn't do your job. Yeah. That's the day. And, you know, of course I've done it in my career. And those are the moments that have made me not do it. But that car ride home with yourself, and then I've passed the houses, and the even worse for me is when I pass the house and it's got solar on it
from somebody else,
and I'm like, man, I didn't like, and it's 100% my fault. You know, I love.
They finally got a good closer over there. 100%.
I love getting kicked in the teeth because it's always made me better. It gives me more, you know, skin.
So for me, that car ride home is the call to my wife and, honey, yeah, it's 9:30. I'm on the way. What do we have for dinner? And she'd be like, how'd it go? And I'd be like, they're very interested, and he's going to talk to the accountant, and we're going to see him again on Friday. I'm feeling really good about this one. She'd be like, no dinner for you, pal.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
if I tell her, you know what,
theme.
I went out I got thrown out of the house. They never want to see me again. This is a solid note. She'd be like, way to go, closer.
Attaboy.
I got dinner on the stove.
I got
Get
a
your
robot
ass
ready
home.
for that ass.
Let's see you soon. She knows.
She's
heard this story for 30 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you've been with the same woman. So
Yeah.
she's always been supportive of your career. Always.
Well, she was pretty freaked out when I was bringing home either 170 or 1,700,
Yeah.
and the bills needed whatever. But she's learned over time that the confidence is warranted, and God will take care of things. If you do the work, you'll get paid.
Faith with works.
It'll come when it comes, and you'll be, he'll take care of things till it does.
So I really want to touch on this. So you spent 25 years, IBM, then you went into networking and then cloud storage and all that stuff, and you spent 25 years in that industry as it developed, right? I mean, you were there at ground zero basically in that industry. So, and you, like you said, I mean, I don't think anyone that's been in an industry 25 years that was successful didn't make a name for themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So you make your name for yourself in this industry. I mean, you're not 22 anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
no, I'm not 22.
Right, and you make this decision in 2015. Like, what was that like, and why did you do it?
Well, I was actually pretty tired, and so the reason I was in mainframes and then networks and then infrastructure and then security was because every time an IT product comes out, there's just a race to the zero line, race to the zero profit margin deal. And I'd been through that literally, I think, 1,000 times. But the real thing I went through was working for corporate America, which I call having golden handcuffs on. And so, I got that $125 salary, and if I hit my quota and goal, I'm in another $125. That's $250K, dude. That's rocking on anybody's measurement scale, except for the right one. Right? And the right measurement scale is if you're not making a multiple of $250,000, what the F is wrong with you if you're a good salesman? And the reason is because you're letting corporate America have the lion's share of the sales commission and they deserve it because they gave me the $125 salary. So, at one point I thought, it'd be nice if I didn't have to worry about I was coming home with $170 or $1,700 this week. And what if I took I got offered this, $44,000 salary plus commissions, and now, now all the stress off my wife and blah, 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 blah. And now I'm showing up, but, I'm hitting quota and I'm making, I was making $100,000, $120,000, and I worked my way up to, over $200,000 a year. But if you were to go leave and go work straight commission, you're just scared to death that you can't, that those golden handcuffs are needed. Like, you better keep showing up. I got kids in college. I got insurance. I got pay for that boat that's in the boat slip at the harbor and all that stuff. So I got shit to pay for, like I can't be starting some straight commission or, starting this entrepreneurial thing. I'll be scared to death. I literally kept that job for a period of several weeks, went out with my partner, Troy Dimbakowitz, and went out and knocked on doors with him, sold my first 2 or 3 deals, and I'm like, do the math. Did that for another couple weeks and said, I literally walked in. I had gotten promoted beyond my abilities. I was now the vice president. I was the regional vice president for a security firm, and which means I had $15 an hour technicians reporting to me, and I had I'm a salesman. Like, what do you do? I'm in sales. What are you good at? I'm good at sales. Can you figure out how many postage stamps this office needs over the next year? Yeah, no, I can't do that. But that was like part of my job, managing a P&L and listening to people call in sick. I'm like, dude, I hate my job. But now I'm now promoted above my level of expert. They call that the Peter principle. You get promoted above your abilities. So, and I'm like, didn't that guy hear me? I wanted to be VP of sales, not VP of the whole freaking region, whatever. So anyway, I went out and tried it, did the math, and I said, I think I can, this solar thing is unbelievable. So if you are working and getting a salary, you're giving up the lion's share. If you are in an entrepreneurial situation or a 1099, which is entrepreneurial, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman, so I'm a business, right? If I'm a business and I have confidence in myself and I go out and I do this work, I have to have confidence if I do the work, I'm going to get paid. Right. And then, but I'm going to get paid the lion's share. And that's what happens in solar. That's why solar has weird money, because you're the one taking the risk. You're the one getting the reward.
That's really powerful stuff.
That's on
man.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really powerful stuff. And so did you just find solar on happenstance? Was there
No,
an ad
I
in the
started,
paper?
that thing about whatever's moving, I started seeing these solar systems just flying up onto roofs. I started pulling over going, man, there's 3 solar systems in a row. Like, I know these things are, $50, $60, $70,000. What the heck is going on here? So I started getting real intrigued. I had looked at it in the 2003, 2004, and it was $10 a watt. It was $150,000. There were big incentives, but the homeowner, like crazy, had to go get their own financing. It was like it wasn't
Wild
really
West.
sellable. And now I'm looking at it, I'm going, these things are selling, man. Something's going on. And that's when I ended up, hearing somebody talk about it and getting in touch with these guys that are now my partners. And they're like, showed me how it works. I'm like, this works. This sells. This sells itself.
So I know that you're a multiple Golden Door Award winner before it was cool, right? And then how many systems did you sell your first year?
So the first year I sold under a megawatt. My first partial year was 2015, summer to the end.
Okay.
And I think I sold, maybe 500-600 kilowatts. Did really well. Proved to myself I could walk away from corporate America and the corporate. The next full year, something weird happened. I started realizing how much money I was getting paid per deal and realized I didn't need to sell that much.
Big check syndrome. Big check syndrome.
Big check syndrome.
It's a killer.
Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow. So I'm selling between 100 and 200 kilowatts a month. And I'm like, I paid off I had $40,000 in my big corporate America lifestyle. I was easily I was handling $40,000 in debt and a boat slip and cars and kids. I was handling it. And miserable as hell, right? So I paid off $40,000 of debt. I paid off my mortgage. And you know what happens when you don't have a mortgage? You don't have any debt?
You don't
have a reason to get up in the morning.
Literally, yeah.
And I went from 200 kilowatts a month to like 40 kilowatts a month. And that's when my two partners like, dude, we need to have a talk. Like, we know you're capable of this. Why are you selling 40 kilowatts instead of 150, 200? I'm like, well, these doors are overknocked and the market, the competition, this all this crap. The leads suck. So I've never had a leads thing because I'm always self-gen. But but anyway, so I got all these excuses. But the real reason was I had lost the fire that was under my ass that was getting me up and out of bed every day and getting me onto the turf, making appointments, closing the deals. And at 40 kilowatts, I can keep the wolves
It's a good
at bay.
living, man.
Yeah, I can keep the wolves at bay at 40 kilowatts. So that was the difference. So that confrontation and the idea that this was a perishable opportunity. It's now we're finding out maybe we got some time to sell solar. But at the time, literally the tax credits were going away at the end of the year. This Obama was not yet president. Obama extended the tax credits by 3 years. The tax credits are going away. The net metering's going away. I'm like, dude, this is a lot of money per sale. I should sell as many of these as I can before it's over. And my partners and we just went nuts. So at the end of that year, I just kind of crashed through the net metering deadline, all these other deadlines. I learned the value of a deadline. Man, if you're selling solar, you got to figure out what the next deadline is, because that's what generates urgency, whether it's a utility deadline, whether it's a capacity on the local grid deadline, whether it's a tax credit. You got to come up with deadlines and why people need to move forward now. But we blow through this thing, and I crashed at the gate. I go to D2D-Con, and Sam says, if you sold over a megawatt, come up to the stage. I go to the stage, and he's like, writing down a list of people. It was the first D2D-Con. How much shall I go? 2.56 million watts of solar. You're like, no, dude, not the company, you personally. I'm like, no, that's what I sold personally, 2.56. He's like, oh wow, that's not really a thing. Sam, right? I come up that night, he goes, yeah, we didn't know what to do, so we're just gonna give you 2 of these. So like, all right, cool. I got 2 trophies, double. That was
because it was 100 deals, right? It was 100 solar deals got you.
It was a megawatt.
It was a megawatt.
I think at the time it was a megawatt because California deals are small. We had to take care of those California guys. So I think they transferred it from a megawatt to 100 deals or a megawatt. So it was 1 Golden Door award. So 2 megawatts was 2 Golden Door. So he gives me 2 of them. I moved to a place that has a net metering deadline in Tucson and then sell 2.8 million watts that year, 2 Golden Door awards. Then I'm back in Phoenix with no deadline. I had the toughest year of my life, and I learned the value of something else. I learned the value of a floor. Mentally, by getting those 2 Golden Door awards, I thought of myself, now I'm a 2 Golden Door award winner, dude. I don't want to show up and get 1. Like, now I'm not trying to win a Golden Door award. I'm trying not get 2. And man, I had the toughest time. No deadline, no nothing. And it's like October. Normally I'm well over the 2 million watt mark by the end of October. It's the end of October and I got a half a megawatt left to go. And I found out like a different ways to motivate. Normally I would coast in by the end of the year and use just kind of lay low the last couple months of the year. But I just turned it on, man. I got that last kilowatt sold on December 31st. I don't know if that was 2019 or 20.
Yeah.
So I've had a double Golden Door Award, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then I'm rolling in this year. I'll be picking up some more Golden Door Awards this year.
So that's, I've been following you since I started this industry, and I just love your content. It's just straightforward to the point, no bullshit, right? And so what was that, you said, you found that motivation that year to get to the end of the year. What was that motivation? What did you use to turn yourself on?
Well, that's a great question, because now I don't have the fire coming from my mortgage and my debt. Right?
Yeah.
So now what am I going to do? Well, it became a different thing. And honestly, I'm a kind of I'm a show off, man. I had those 2 Golden Door Awards. I wanted the money from the first one because that gave me all this tons of cash, and I'm paying off mortgages and buying vacation homes for cash. And I'm like, dude, I kind of like just, my brother-in-law is showing me homes, and he's all right, we'll get the mortgage guy to come over. I think I'm just going to write a check. And he's like, what? You're going to write a check for this much money?
Love that.
So I wanted that again. I'm like, how do I get this again? I didn't have a clue. I literally didn't have a clue, and I was having trouble knocking on doors to maintain that level. And at that first Door2Door Con, Jeremy Andrus spoke, and he talked about mini habits.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, man, you know what I do to get in shape? I do 1 push-up a day. I'm like, what? That's like actually the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's so absurd. He goes, no, I get it. It's absurd. You got to read the book. So I buy the book. I read the book.
Yeah.
And it's really, I figured out the distance. Every time I had a job, I've been super impressive right at the beginning, like I was in this job. And then as soon as I made a name for myself, kind of get myself in the upper echelon of the roster, I would milk my network and whatever cold calls I'd done to date for as long as it would possibly last. That doesn't work in solar, right? You got to find somebody new every day to say, would you, come over and show me solar? So I found out the biggest distance in the world was the distance between 0 and 1. All right. And so the ability to get yourself from not doing 1 to having done 1, that's the problem. And Mini Habits solves that problem. The book I have coming out at the end of the year is called No Matter What. And so I was able to figure out what I needed to do every single day, no matter what. And that's what had gotten me sober. And now I'm, in my 4th decade of sobriety, 30-something years sober. I learned I just had to do one or two things every single solitary day, no matter what. And I could repeat that success. And then the other half of it, and by the way, the first mini habit is you read 2 pages a day at mini habit. It's like a 128-page book. You're going to read it before morning. And he's like, no, don't do that. Read 2 pages a day, put it away, read 2 pages tomorrow, read 2. That's your first mini habit. So read that. So that literally changed. I've never read a whole self-development or sales book ever in my life. I would buy them by the dozen. I'd read 20, 30, 40.
And throw in the trash.
1/3, 2/3. They'd sit on my bookshelves for literally decades. Somebody hands me, a guy who's working with me, Corey, he's working with me, and he goes, and I'm like, I like to read, so I'd already read 2 pages. I can't read more. He goes, well, try reading this. And he hands me Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, man.
Been on my bookshelf for decades. If there's a sales book or a development book, and it's so famous that it's literally a cliche, you should probably read it, right? Think and Grow Rich. I've heard of this book. I've owned it. So I start reading 2 pages a day of that book. I have now read every single thing that Napoleon Hill has ever written. Lots
Just
of
2
it,
pages a day.
Because I read 2 pages a day, 2-3 pages a day, every single solitary day. And Napoleon Hill wrote a lot of stuff, let me tell you.
Yeah,
By the Laws of Success. It was the predecessor to Think and Grow Rich. It's much more technical. It's much more practical. But the idea that my brain's job is to think and not just be in a squirrel cage, but to think constructively. If you follow Think and Grow Rich, it will have you doing certain things every single solitary day, like reading your mantra, your chief main objective. What are your goals? Income goals, kilowatt goals, net worth goals for this year, 3 years, 5 years. Read that out loud with my spouse every single day out loud. All of a sudden, my brain starts to get the idea that I'm not trying to pay my bills. I'm trying to create generational wealth. Like, dude, the chapter in my book about this and in the MOD Sales Academy is a 9-figure mindset. I have a 9-figure mind. If you follow me around, you'd be like, dude, where is the fire? Did somebody give you 6 months to live? What the hell is your problem? We already know you're gonna make, a multiple 7-figure income this year. Dude, why are you killing yourself? And it's because I am in the midst of creating a 9-figure exit. out of the solar, out of my solar career. And Napoleon Hill talks about this. I have an advantage off of all you young bucks and you young studs. I don't have the time to let this, to bake for 20 years. I got like 5, 6, 7 years to make this 9-figure thing happen. And I'm going to make that happen. So if you follow me around, you'd be like, dude, like, where is this fire under your ass coming from? It's like, I have a mindset that I'm trying to create. A nine-figure mindset is $100 million, right? At $100 million, you can do anything you can possibly imagine, right?
Literally.
Yeah, literally anything.
100 million is a good look.
A billion doesn't get you anything more other than
one more bedroom.
More hassles, yeah.
Yeah, one more bedroom.
You get one more mansion on one more coast.
That's it.
And maybe a helicopter to get in between. So literally, that's mine. So I'm working towards it, but that didn't come to me naturally. My mindset, growing up as one of 7 kids with a dad who's a cop, mom's making disabled American veteran calls at home, that kind of thing. My mindset financially was to not shit the bed. That's literally what my mindset. That was the fire under my ass, was to not end up bankrupt, not end up with kids who can't eat, not end up blah 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 blah. That was my mindset. So to shift, I never acquired a mindset where I was going to actually achieve things that in my mind vaguely meant success. So in Think and Grow Rich, I created those ideas, created those visions, and created the thought that I was going to do them. And next thing I know, my brains just think that's what's going on now.
So this is the compound effect, right? But a lot of the times when we hear these little terminologies, these cliches, first comes the work and then comes the motivation. I think what people don't realize in that is that through long-term hard work, and there is a lot of adversity and fear, financial insecurities, laziness. I mean, you name it. We run through the gambit of personal emotions doing this job long term, this career long term, teams, teaching, selling, everything that we do. But the compound effect of that is that you learn that you can do it. So you do the work, and then after that comes the planning, in my opinion, because you start seeing like, wow, the work is really producing more, and I need a plan for this. And then comes the mindset, and that's to me where the motivation is, because you start to see, wow, I've really created a not just a financial wealth, but a personal wealth for all of the people around me. I'm giving value to humans. I'm teaching them. I'm bringing value to my homeowners, and then I'm also bringing great value to my family and my life. And that's very motivating. So once when you get in line, and Tyler Williams said it best, his description on Relentless, when you just do this job relentlessly, eventually the motivation comes, because the job, it's not hard after a while, but it's still what it is. It's we go in and it's an emotional job, closing, knocking, everything we do. But that motivation comes after that work for that very reason, because that belief system comes in, because the crops start to grow behind you, the human crops, like what value you've added to people and your family and your children and your lifestyle and your customers and all those things, because you're constantly sowing that field. Then when you look back at that amazing crop behind you, it's very, very, very motivating. And that's, when we hear,
especially you get a taste of what it can actually produce. What are the results? What's the fruit? I want more of that. So after I got that first double golden door, I'm like, I want to do this again. What do I got to do? I didn't know what to do, so I thought it was all about the deadline. So I moved to a city that had a deadline, a net metering deadline. I'm like, that was the trick. And then, I kind of learned the D2D, go work at another market thing where you got nothing else to do but work. Well, and it was about the work.
In the moment, that's what you did need to do. I think successful people find listen, everybody, we all get up and put our pants on the same way, essentially, right? The successful people find ways to be motivated. They create the opportunities. They go in and do those things. And at that moment, in that time in your life, that's what you needed. You needed that thing to go be motivated. So you didn't sit around and wait for it. Right. You said, where is the thing that I need? And I'm going to do everything necessary, including getting up and rooting my family and moving to that marketplace to find what I need to make me motivated. I'm going to go in hard, and that's going in the paint. So that's just beast mode. That's what we do.
And then once that's all working, I still found that there were days when I'm walking out of a house with a 12 kilowatt contract. I got a $50,000 signatures in my bag, and there's my truck, and across the street is a dude who is watering his lawn with a hose. And I'm like, I should go talk to that dude and say, hey, these guys across the street, they're your neighbors, they just went solar, and we should get your proposal over here. And I would find myself getting into the truck. And why am I doing that? What's going on? What is that? And I would find that the hesitancy and the resistance wasn't getting better, it was getting worse. And that's because the better and better I feel, the less I wanted to cross the street and get into that not good feeling. When someone says, no, dude, blah, blah, maybe he's a jerk, all of a sudden, next thing you know, that good high feeling is gone, and you're just feeling this, shame and rejection and the fear of feeling that. One of the real breakthroughs that I had during that time was understanding. And Stephen Guy says, if you have a mini habit, so here was my mini habit, because I'm in 2 or 3 appointments every day. I'm not the guy that knocks for 4 hours, 6 hours. I don't got the credential hanging from my neck and a clipboard, and I don't look like a dude that's door to door, man. I've got a button-down shirt on. I might be wearing a sport coat. I've got a briefcase with me. I look like and I feel like I have an advantage when someone looks out the door and they see me standing at the door. They're guy with gray hair and a briefcase. I better see what this is about. Yeah. So they would open the door, and I felt like I had that advantage. What was keeping me from getting to that door? So I went backwards, and what Stephen Guy's in Mini Habit says, if you have my mini habit was to get to one door after every presentation. So if I'm in 2 or 3 appointments a day, I got to get to one door and get one presentation.
That's money.
Done every day. And I found myself not doing it, being down on myself, and what the hell is going on here? So Stephen Guy says, if you're not doing that one thing, even though I've made a sacred commitment to doing it, you'd be like sobriety, right? Don't go to a meeting every day and don't drink in between meetings. Like if you don't do that, you're screwed. Right. So I've set this up. I'm going to do it. Now I'm not doing it. Why is that? And the answer is because of fear and shame. And how am I going to deal with the fear of rejection and then experiencing the shame of rejection, that whole thing? And I had a breakthrough at about the same time, and I realized, so I go back to Stephen Guy, he says, if you're not doing the one thing you said you were going to do, that sacred commitment to get from 0 to 1, you have to figure out a way to make that bar lower and make it stupider and more absurd. It has to be more one push-up like. And I'm like, how can I make this more one push-up like? Well, part of the problems that closers have knocking on doors, and if you're a closer and you're not knocking on doors, you're giving up so much money, it's unbelievable, right? Because we get paid so much more for a self-gen than you do for a company, they bought a lead or whatever 100%. They did. So you're getting literally twice the money if you self-gen. Why are you not talking to that guy across the street? How could you get yourself to leave a neighborhood when you knew you might make $3 grand, $5 grand, $6 grand, whatever, but just walking across the street? What the hell is that? And I realized just the fear and the resistance of being told no. And then I had to back up and I said, well, now as a closer, and the reason closers suck at knocking on doors is because they're not good at rejection. But what makes us great closers is this idea in our head that we're going to get yes, no matter what. So I had to turn it completely around. When I'm in the house, no one's going to tell me no. You're going to ask me to leave, right? I'm not going to take your blah, blah, blah. Eventually I'll be told no, but I'm not going to tomorrow. So in my mind, that's just not acceptable. But when I'm on the door, I want to know. I'm going to go, and so I turned it around. I'm going to do one push-up. Drop and give me one. All right, I can do that. I'd be like, see that dude? Let's go get him to say no. He does not want a solar quote. And like, dude, hey, dude with the hose, you don't want a solar quote, do you? No, I don't. Awesome, buddy. Have a great day. Now I can get back in the car with the check mark, instead of getting back into the truck with what's wrong with you? Do you hate money? What's your So that was a huge thing, man. And when you're knocking on doors, you're not paid for yeses. The yeses just happen. They're a byproduct of being out there. When you cross that transom from 0 to 1, something happens. You become, instead of being the victim of inertia, you become the beneficiary of momentum, right? Newton's first law of motion. So when you're in inertia, all you can feel is the fear and the shame and the not today. How about tomorrow? Let me go to Starbucks first. What? You didn't do it. If you can cross that over and go, dude, I got to get one person to tell me to F off. I can do that. No, I do not want a free quote. If I get myself across the street, dude, any chance at all, I just sold the neighbors. They're here. Do you know them? But Now, as soon as I'm in a conversation with the guy, all of a sudden I kind of switch back into closer mode. Now all of a sudden he's talking to a stone cold killing machine. He don't know it, right? But this is a guy that closes, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, just saying, hey, would you like a solar quote? I'm back into stone cold. But for me to cross across the street and go to talk to that guy, I had to convince myself. And then when he says, no, get off my lawn, literally, get off my lawn, I walk away going, dude, that was an awesome no. There's no chance. And the more of a dick the guy is, the more confident I know that I didn't screw it up.
Yeah.
Like I didn't leave anything on the table. If the guy was a complete jerk and I walk away with a no, I'm like, that was a damn, like if I'm with people, I'm like getting the high five, man. I'm like, dude, I haven't had a no that good in weeks. And I'm all excited. Why? Because that's where the money comes from. The money comes from walking across the street, not from somebody saying yes at the kitchen table. As if I can monetize that, that's the whole ball game.
I've been in this for 5 years in the door-to-door, and I've been through that feeling so many times and never put it to words or even a thought like you just described. Like, how many times have I been out, and we just talked about this the other day, Zach, because you get off doors for 2 days and you go to a couple closes and you're feeling like you're a winner. Like, oh man, I just made 20 grand. I'm great. And like, I don't want to go knock on that door because he's going to be mean to me and I don't want to do that. And it's the way you put it it's perfect, because I think a lot of people of our listeners can relate. It's when you feel so good, you don't want to let that guy make you feel bad, even though we know that that's where the money's at. And I think the vet, like you, we muscle through that and we go knock it. But to be able to identify, so, I think a lot of things where, in my opinion, we have problems is we're not able to identify why we're doing what we're doing wrong. Yep. We don't just understand it, but when we understand it and we can identify it, we can capitalize on it, because, hey, that's a weakness. I feel good, and I don't want that guy to make me feel bad.
Absolutely.
Yep. But he can't make me feel bad if I just go in expecting to know. So I'm just going to go knock these doors, get my job done, and then I know I'm going to feel better because it's going to compound the opposite direction. So just being able to identify that right now for me was powerful. That was money.
And what that is a hack. So I've literally hacked my brain. Everyone experiences rejection as a failure, and I experience it as a revenue event. I literally, so the trick is to do the math. And my math is, I talked to about 7 people to get 1 appointment. Yeah. And if you're new, you're not going to get 1 out of 7.
To this day, 7, 1 out of 7.
Yeah, 1 out of 7.
I feel good.
Yeah.
I'm 1 out of 13.
Yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah. So that's the math, right?
Yeah.
All you got to do is apply 1 out of 13 to the math, and you can decide how much money you're going to make this month, this year. It's just a decision. Now it's how many times do I have. So if you can treat that no, so if I know if it's 1 out of 7, then I know that I'm getting paid about $650 for everyone that tells me no. Dude, I can get pretty fired up about going to talk to you for like 3 minutes, have you be a jerk and make $650.
I was like, it might have been, you did a podcast with Taylor Armstrong, Solarpreneur, plug for Taylor. Really like that kid a lot. And somebody had told me how many megawatts you sold personally. I'm like, bullshit, because I'm like, there's no way. I mean, like, and then I saw a picture of you, like, no chance, dude.
There's no way he could get to that many doors.
What is he? Why? What? No, dude, he's retired. Why is this guy knocking? Then I listened to your podcast and then consumed a copious amount of your content. So I appreciate it because you give a ton of stuff away for free.
It's all been for free. Yeah. I mean, I just worked with Brad Lee this year to get my content onto VT Lightspeed.
And I was on the way. I'll never forget. It was like the far east side. I sold 2 that day. I was listening to you. I sold a 3rd one. It was 8:30 at night, and I heard that for the first time. You were like, go get a no. And it literally was in my car, and I was like, son of a bitch. I literally just walked across the street, and I was like, you don't want a solar proposal, do you? And it was like, well, actually, we were talking about, and I was like, this son of a bitch.
The universe.
They canceled the appointment later, but still, I set an appointment. So I was like, fuck, now I got to go to another one. And you just said on there about how you'll go up to somebody walking a dog just to get a no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey,
that's real, by the way.
I just sold
I'm
your
looking
neighbor.
for the guy knocking the dog because I don't want to knock on a door at 9:30. I'm looking for the guy in the neighborhood walking the dog. That's real.
Yeah. And the guy walking the woman was like, get out. It was dark outside. She's like, get away from me. And I was like, cool. Got my car, drove home. And then you told another story, and I'm only bringing this up because I just love our industry because so many people in your caliber in that state that have been are just willing to give away so much info for free. And you talked about how you came out here, and I've taken this to implement to my daily life. Basically, you were like, always have somebody in your car because you came out to Vegas.
That's another hack.
Yeah, it's a hack. It was raining outside.
Yeah.
You took a guy out.
It's a true story.
You would have never knocked. It was raining on your head. You would have,
the appointment canceled, right? And it's raining on our head. I'm like, if I'm by myself, it's 1,000% that I go back to the office. 1,000%. But this brand new dude's they go, dude, let me show you what we do when somebody doesn't come to the door when we have an appointment. We go and knock on the neighbor's door.
It's perfect. Yeah. And that's just, it's just important that people find, like, and you talk about many habits and Think and Grow Rich, and mine's Dale Carnegie, right? Yep. Like Dale Carnegie's my guy, always been my guy.
Win friends and influence people. Another cliche.
Yeah.
What could
my
be
girlfriend's dad, it was like a requirement. He even gifted me for my birthday to take the course. He's like, you need to do this because this is, and he's my guy. But I think people need to find their guy, and whether it's, because I want to plug the academy. So you started MOD Academy. How long have you been doing it? How do people find it? What's going on with it?
Well, years ago, Sam had called me up and said, O'Donnell, I'm in Phoenix. I'm coming over. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, we're going to record what you do. And so, it's kind of the rudimentary aspects of my presentation and close. And people started really responding to it. So that inspired me. Then people were like, will you come out and train? I'm like, dude, I can't. Dude, I'm selling solar. Like, if I leave this market to come to your place and sell and train your guys, like, oh, we'll pay you money. I was like, dude, I make money. So, what are you going to pay me? Like, you're not going to pay me like 25 grand for a day or something like that. There's a good chance I'll make that selling solar. So
literally.
So that inspired me. Coach Michael Burt is my coaching coach, and he flew me out to meet Brad Lee a year ago, and we came up with a plan to take every single thing I do from mindset. Starts out with the 9-figure mindset, and then it goes into the appointment setting, going for the no, what to say on the door, how to get the objections turned around on the door, how to get to the kitchen table. And then once you're at the kitchen table, what is that compelling presentation that finishes almost every single time with, holy crap, how come all my neighbors don't already have this? I love that line. Yeah. I love when a guy like, dude, how come every house on the street doesn't have solar? Like, dude, you don't have solar. What are you talking about? But I'm glad you've come to this realization because you are next.
Why isn't everybody doing this?
Next, you are going to have solar. So here we go.
Love that.
So that's the compelling presentation, and it's not about. It has nothing to do with saving $47 a month. Dude, do not go 50 grand into debt to save $47 a month. That's like a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right? The only reason you should acquire this strategy and use other people's money at a very low interest rate to acquire an asset that will appreciate you and your home over time, that's going to convert an expense into an asset. There's a lot of reasons to go solar, and it doesn't even come up in my presentation, whether it's $37 a month or $67 a month savings. It's just not relevant. Solar costs less. You have all of these benefits, this incredible strategy. Your family's on this road to financial independence. We're talking appreciation, equity. We're talking about using the strategies that rich people use to get rich, right? And we're talking about winning the ball game. And that's not about saving $47 a month. That's you're going to work 30, 40 years. And are you dirt poor or do you have a nice life? That's the ball game. If somebody implements a solar system, they're going to improve they're going to prove the outcome in the actual ball game. That's what we're sitting there talking to somebody about. So how do you make that the presentation? So that goes through every single step of that in the academy. And then the first and foremost and the most important is the closing, right? How do we get into this mindset where we believe that we are serving the customer, that we're serving our company, that we're serving our family? And if we walk out the door without emptying the clip, like, what the hell was wrong with me? Why I'm looking at a nail in a piece of wood. It's in the middle of the table. I look over and there's my bag of tools and there's a hammer. And I think, nah, I'm not going to get the hammer out. What the hell is that? But you got to have the hammer in the toolbox, right? So the mindset is being willing to do it, to create the awkwardness, but then you got to have the hammer. So, close 1, 2, 3, 4. Those, you know what? They're just the closes, and I've learned a bunch more, and I've learned, I'm a student of the sales game. So I've read everybody's everything. But, those aluminum siding guys showed me how to do it 30 years ago. They said, oh yeah, when they say they want to do it on a different day, just do this and this and this and this and this and this. So that's what's in the academy, and it's super dirt cheap. You just sign up, and it's like Netflix. You just start binging one after another, and next thing you know, you've gone through 6-7 hours.
Where do they sign up at?
It's called MOD Sales Academy VT.
Yeah, and then they can find you on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, Michael O'Donnell Sales on Instagram. By the way, so we talked about 2 hacks. Those 2 hacks are 2 of 7 hacks, and I have a whole 20-minute video. It's absolutely free. 7 hacks to 7 figures. You just text the word hacks to 66866. 66.
Did you do it, Zach?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a 20-minute video.
What's the number again?
You text the word hacks to 66866.
I sent it to
and it's not going to sell you anything. You're just going to get a link to a video. Yeah. And what the video is talking about is how to screw off watching Facebook in your car and make an appointment. Like, that's a hack. Right?
Yeah.
That's a hack. So, and I do it. Sometimes the best I can do is to be on the turf. Like, sometimes the best I can manage And I'm like the worst. Like I'm the laziest guy. I got the most fear, the most anxiety. I got the most like actual issues probably of anybody on the planet. I got everyone else has. How do I turn that into an appointment today? Sometimes the best I can do is just not leave the turf. Like I'm not allowed to leave. I might sit in my car for 20 minutes waiting for a neighbor to come to the mailbox or come up to their house or whatever, and then promise myself I'll just go talk to that one person and get that person to tell me no. Sometimes that's the best I got. And if that's just the best I got, guess what? That turns into appointments. That turns into appointments.
I love that.
I love that too. So, I love having some of the guests. This has been great today. I think a lot of, and we have people in our office that'll come in, one particular right now, but people come into the industry thinking they need to sell a power bill. And if you're selling a power bill in solar, you are missing the entire sale.
It's part of it.
It is part of it.
You're going to kill the bill,
right? And I agree with that. But there's
make them pissed. I love the power bill because I can get really pissed. But that's not the whole thing.
100%. There's 10 more benefits to the homeowner. And so listen, this podcast has been great today, because I love really hearing refined and defined closers and salespeople help us understand how they got here. And I feel the same way. Zach and I have, listen, we're all people. We all suffer from the same emotional things, the same anxiety, the same fear, the same I'm in hood, the same. But the successful people, find a way to do the things that nobody else likes doing by these little hacks. And I'm a huge believer in the compound effect and how we do. And, I've come up with my own little triggers to get me to do the things. Yeah. But I love hearing some of these things that you've put forth. And it just speaks to volumes to where you're at in your career. So this has been some great information just for me, because you're obviously highly successful, but you've done it through you're one of us. Everybody puts their pants on the same way. You've just found highly successful ways and mechanisms to create these hacks and get yourself going where you need to go.
And I had the benefit of being shown exactly how to do it in a repeatable fashion. And, I've been able to use 30 years of doing presentations to say, what do I really want to tell a homeowner?
Yeah.
And being able to consolidate that and lay that down into a super repeatable fashion people can pick it up. I had a dude walk up to me at RoofCon. I was a keynote speaker, which is pretty cool in another industry. It was my first time talking really outside the solar industry. And I'm speaking from the thing, and I have a dude come up, and he's a roofing dude, and he'd been introduced to my training academy. He goes, dude, listen to me. I go, huh, what? He goes, dude, I did not know dick. I'm a roofing guy. I don't know if you're a roofing guy, right? So I'll just say, roofing guys. A lot of them don't know dick, right?
They don't.
Roofing guys.
Anyway, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. Anyway, the dude comes up to the roof guy and goes, dude, I did not know dick. I did not know what a kilowatt hour was or a kilowatt. And he said, dude, I got onto your thing. I watched the videos. I watched them a gazillion times, which was probably like 4 or 5 times. It's kind of like a Netflix thing. You just watch it, and it's meant to like take you to the next one, and then you watch another. The segments are like 15 minutes long, and then you're watching the next one. Anyway, he says, I watched it a gazillion times. Then I went out and sold solar. I sold 25 solar systems in 30 days. I'm thinking that's pretty good. That might be more than I sold in the last 30 days. So what I'm super proud of is not that I have sold, 12 megawatts of solar in how many, 5-6 years or whatever. It's the fact that in the last 90 days, I've sold over a megawatt of solar. In the last 90 days, I've sold over a megawatt of solar. I've sold and that's why I created the Sales Academy, because I can't be everywhere. I'm not going to like quit my job and go travel around the country training people. But the VT Lightspeed system, that's the same system Cardone uses, Anthony Hopkins uses. That's what DDD University is on. It's 1-to-1. It's like you're spending 6.5 hours with me 1-to-1. You got me all to yourself, and I'm just telling you exactly how I do it, exactly what I say. And so far, it seems like people are getting a lot out of it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, especially, especially at this point in your career. How many reps do you guys have in Arizona, you think?
Like 50.
50. And
define rep, right?
Copy
that. 80-20 rule.
A guy that has a pulse that's in the room at least, right?
Yeah, we got
I know how many are selling.
We got a good few handfuls of guys who are working every day selling the lights out of this thing. And we're going to sell somewhere between about 18 megawatts of solar and install it this year in Arizona. So super proud of that. Super excited to be one of the 3 owners of that company.
That's great.
And especially
Sun Solar Solutions. I got news for you guys. One of the things people come up to me and go, red line. I'm like, dude, your red line is not high enough, right? Like if you're not dealing with a company that can afford to pay the bills and hire a receptionist, then you don't have, you're just looking at this thing all the way. If there was anybody on planet Earth who could have made maybe a few more bucks at selling, it would be me selling 12 megawatts of solar, and by trying to get an extra nickel off of whatever your deal is, right? And I don't know. When I looked at how much money I got paid per deal, I'm like, this is like too much. Like, you tell me I go out and sell this thing and I'm going to make $3,000, $4,000. Like, that's just too much money for an hour and a half. No one tell these guys, right? Was I trying to bend them for 5 more cents or something like that, or 10 more cents or whatever that deal was? Dude, if I would have not been with a company who understood that the only thing I do well is to make appointments and close them, and that they needed to do literally every single thing else, like call the customer the next morning, and every single thing. If I wasn't with a company, I would not have sold half as much solar. So if you're out there on, solar this, solar that, going, dude, bro, what's your red line? If you don't have a company that you would tell your mom, you need to go solar, and these are the guys that are going to do it, and they're going to be out here years from now, they're going to do the job right, the warranties are legit. If you don't feel that way, like you wouldn't put your mom into that solar system with the company, like maybe your red line is too low. So you need to be working with a company that's healthy, that they have enough money to hire receptionists and quality guys and the whole 9 yards. So that's something, if I had to give somebody advice, I would be like, you need to be with a company you're so excited about. You're going to buy your solar, have your mom buy their solar, have everybody in your family buy solar from that company, and be able to sleep. There's nothing that's more valuable than being able to, when that phone rings at 6:30 in the morning and you're not afraid to answer the phone, like what's the value of that? That's the MasterCard commercial right there. That's priceless. You just need to call our customer service. They'll take care of you, knowing they will.
We can get a mic drop from you on that one. That was money.
Boom.
Yeah, that was serious, right? That was the real thing.
You single-handedly ended the podcast exactly how I like to do it, without me teeing you up. So I'm not going to ruin it anymore. This has been an inspirational episode for me. Listen, this is, sometimes I can be a little bit selfish. This is for the listeners, but sometimes I just get so much out of this stuff. It's pretty insane. It's been a pleasure to meet you, man. I know that, I've been following you for a little over a year, so thank you for the content.
Yeah.
We already plugged all your stuff, but Michael O'Donnell Sales Online, you can find all his stuff on Instagram, etc. Thank you for carving out some time, man. I hope the next time you're out here,
telling me I can leave here and go play in the World Series of Poker?
I want you to get out immediately.
That's what I'm gonna do, man.
No,
we gotta get
I
you
want
a
a
win.
seat in the
There's
World
that
Series of Poker on a bet.
That's how we're gonna get you
I'm
there.
gonna make the 9 figures right off the bat. I'm gonna go win $8 million at the World.
Yeah, I never say good luck because I think it's bad luck to say good luck. So just go out there and crush it and break a leg, man. Thank you, Mike.
I'm on my way. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Wonderful
it,
to be here. Thanks again,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
All right.